Streaming live from Kingston, Jamaica, it's Mr. Wilson, CSET Bio, HSB Live. My quote this evening: once you get started, you are closer to your destination. This evening, we will be looking at the topic genetics. We are going to be going over some things that we've already done, and we're going to be doing most of the lesson with the pedigree chart. The objective is to complete all those diagrams and move on to something new next Sunday, providing that we're here. I do hope that you're great, you're doing well wherever you are in the Caribbean, wherever you are in the world. And again, I remind you to invite your friends on over. The session is free, there's no attachment. Invite your friends on over, call your classmates, whomever you need to call, and have them join in the conversation. We are going to be here for at least 2 hours, I hope. I hope we will not be having any interruption during the show. I don't foresee any, but things should be well. I'm going to be starting off the show this evening with some definitions that I would love for you. I'd love for you to get these definitions so we can start and have a discussion. Amanda Andrews is here. Hi, how you doing? I am seeing Joanna, Jawawan. I'm seeing Jawawan, and I'm seeing Elena Johnson. A lot of persons are not here as yet, but I am still going to give you these words to look at. I do hope that you have your textbook. I do hope that you went on over to my channel and you did look at the preview for the show today, and you are prepared. You have your pen, your pencil, you are ready to go. You have your textbook if you're using a textbook. I do hope that we are all ready. For those persons who are out there in distant land who have not subscribed as yet, I invite you now to do so. However, if you still feel like you don't want to subscribe, yes, you still can give it a shot by just viewing the program, watching the show to the end. It's pretty much geared for those students who are doing the CSEC, biology, and HSB examination. As such, there are a lot of things that we do that might not fit in other syllabus because the show is skewed towards a particular syllabus. With that said, before I give you the words, I want to just say some things about the labs that we have been doing. As promised, we did upload a number of labs. I think I should be asking you, can you tell me what labs were uploaded since we last met? We had promised to put up the lab for taxes, the response lab. However, there's this confusion. I've been trying to check the syllabus to see if the chi-square is a requirement for CXC. I know that at CAPE we do the chi-square. I'm not sure. I've never done it for CSEC. So I want to be sure on that before I put it up. If we have to put up the chi-square, we'll definitely attach the chi-square to it, but we don't want to put up the final response lab and it is not there, and it should be there. So I'm still doing my check to see, should I put up the chi-square or not? If the 6 farmers want it, sure, we will do the chi-square and put it up, not a bother. All right, and like I've said, just tell me the labs that we have uploaded since we last met. We have uploaded quite a few. All right, and we are now coming back to the content, the core content that a lot of persons have been waiting on. So we're going to be looking at the definitions that I want you to get from me. We're going to be having a chat around that this evening, and then we're going to be doing the revision because we must have the crosses and all of those pedigree chart and Punnett Square. We must have those lock, not pedigree chart. We must have the Punnett Square and the other genetic diagrams lock before we can get to the pedigree chart. If not, persons are going to be crying this evening, and I don't want that. So I plan to spend a lot of time on it because I've come to understand that a lot of persons are shying away from the pedigree chart, but we're going to mash it up this evening. All right, we are going to be doing a wonderful job with it this evening, you and I. All right, let's look at the words that we want to cover this evening. Now we're coming from the syllabus, so just write them down for me, do the research and post them for me. All right, so we looked at dominant. So the syllabus wants to know what the word dominant means. I want you to do that for me. I want you to look at recessive as well. So you're going to be looking at dominant trait, recessive trait. I want you to also to look at codominance. I want you to give me the meaning for phenotype and genotype. I want you to give the meaning for homozygous and heterozygous. We have looked at all of these, but I want to ensure that we have some formal definition going, some good understanding, so that, of course, we can all be on the same playing field, as we would say it here. Now, we're supposed to be looking at codominance. We're going to be looking at blood group and inheritance. We're supposed to explain the inheritance of traits, and we're supposed to look at dominant and, of course, recessive. And so we're supposed to examples to include sickle cell, anemia, and albinism. Genetic diagrams required. So we're going to be going to, we have done it before, but we're going to now be zeroing in on some things that the syllabus is saying explicitly that they should be done. We're supposed to predict the results of crosses involving one pair of allele in the heterozygous, homozygous, dominant, and recessive condition. The syllabus also wants us to look at the Punnett Square and the Pedigree Chart to show dominant, recessive, codominant trait. And we are supposed to include genotype and genotypic and phenotypic ratios. Students should be able to identify various phenotypic ratio obtained by crossing homozygous and heterozygous parental genotype. So what it means is that we're going to be doing, in most cases, all the crosses so that you can have the ratio thing locked in your head, whether it's a 3-to-1 or whether it's a 1-to-1, that type of thing. It's pretty constant. So if you do a lot of practice, of course, you're going to know what the ratio is going to be, right? It's never changing. It's always the same thing. So those are the words. Just let me go over the words again that you should be covering this evening. If you're just joining, I'm asking you to get these words for me, the definition, and have them posted in the chat. The words are, or the terms are, dominant trait, recessive trait, codominance, genotype, phenotype, homozygous, and heterozygous. I hope you got all those words. All right, Magic is here. Good evening, good evening, good evening. We're waiting on the numbers, but we're not going to be waiting this evening because we really have a big show lineup with a whole lot of practical tasks. So we have to really get started. But I'm going to give you some time that you can get those words and post them while I just talk a little bit about what we intend to have done this evening. So we're going to be looking at inheritance of dominance again. We're going to be looking at both the crosses and, of course, the Punnett Square. We're going to look at inheritance of sex, or sex determination, right? We're going to be looking at sex-link inheritance, and those are pretty easy. We have done them before. And we're going to look at recessive condition. We're going to be looking at albinism, and we're going to be looking at sickle cell anemia. We have looked at color blindness and hemophilia, but we're going to make mention of them again because we want to ensure that when you leave here this evening, you have had a good genetics experience. If I have to do the show again next week, Sunday, because a lot of persons didn't have it a lot this week, I don't have a problem once I am available. I'm not too sure about next week Sunday. I think next week Sunday is some Christmas Sunday or something like that. So it's more like family time, and I want you to have some family time and all of that. And I want to have some family time. So I think we might be off for next week Sunday, but we'll be putting out videos as usual. All right. Hi, everyone. How you doing? Happy Sunday. Juliana Walker. Big up yourself, Jamaican Juliana Walker. We're grateful that you are here. We've been chatting a lot about what we're going to be doing this evening. So it's time now for us to just put away the chat and actually get the ball rolling as we are prepared. I'll be using my notes a lot this evening as I intend not to waste any time. I have all sorts of stuff all written up here for the show this evening. All right, so if you are walking in the rain, don't cry. Figure it out. All right, so let's just jump right into the show and jump into the genetic cross. I like to do the first thing as inheritance of sex or sex determination. What this speaks to, it speaks to, hi Otisha, how you doing? It speaks to the type of offspring, male or female, that you can have having conceived. Now, before the advent of, I know you can't see my face, before the advent of medicine, modern medicine, we would have to just rely on nature to tell us what the offspring will be. But now there's modern medicine, and I'm sure that by now we can manipulate the system to decide what type of child we are going to have. So we're going to be looking at sex determination. That's probably the easiest cross. And you want to pay attention to it because after sex determination, I'm going to go into sex link inheritance or X link inheritance, right? That is going to be very, very important for you to have that, what I love to call locked, right? Before we get to the pedigree chart. So let us just come on over here. So the first thing we want to look at the phenotype of the parents. All right? Phenotype. So we're looking at the phenotype of a parent. I do hope that you can see my board. Whole lot of light. So the phenotype is going to be, of course, male. And of course, it's going to be female. If you can't see, let me know. All right. Usually this is written to the side here, but it won't work for me. Then we're going to look at the genotype now. So the genotype, now we're looking at chromosomes. For male, it's going to be XY. And it's very important that you can see this. It's very important that you know this. And for female, it's always going to be XX. Very important. All right? So we have that part. Then we are going to have the gametes. Now we're doing the best practice. So gamete, you're going to have, I don't even want it come so close, a Y there, and you're going to have X there. Hope you can see. And over here, it's going to be the same. Over here, it's going to be the same. X, X. So this is the gamete for the parent, and this is their genotype, and of course, the phenotype at the top. Now we are going to break away in segregation to form the offspring. Now, being that you have done this already, I don't want to steal your show. Could you just work it out and tell me what the offsprings are going to be? You can either choose to use the Punnett Square. Remember, the Punnett Square is this rectangular box. So it's a rectangle with two lines going across. Two lines coming down. Now that we have male and female, we are going to split that open there. And then for the male, it's usually represented with this symbol. And for the female, it is represented like that. All right, so this is female and this is male. All right, so with segregation, this is where we're going to have segregation or random fertilization. So here we could safely put in the male as X and Y, and here we have female as X and X. So complete that for me and tell me what the offsprings are going to be. Do that very quickly for me. Having completed that, then we are going to now looking at the genotypic ratio and the phenotypic ratio as the syllabus has asked for us to do. So I'm starting that simple. All right. So how are we doing? Everybody coping with it? I know I gave you some tasks earlier. We're going to need that throughout the show. So work this bit out for me. All right. So we want to know what is the likely outcome each time a woman conceives. Is she going to have 10 boys or 10 girls, or it is just by chance she might just have, it might be 50-50 or I don't know. All right, so I'm waiting on you to work it out. Cindy, is that the name? Cindy from Guyana. Otisha is here. Otisha's friend. Are you working it out? Or should I go? Somebody say yes or no. Are we working it out? Or you want me to just go right ahead into it? We have a lot to cover. You're working it out. Yes is the answer, I think. All right, so I'll wait on you being that you say that you're working it out. Sir, please go. All right, so some persons want me to go and some persons want me to work it out. All right, so let me just help those persons who are working it out already and those persons who are not or are still not sure. Let us just do this one. This is going to be the easier way. This is going to be the easier way. I like to use the Punnett Square. And what we do, x, x. And where we got these from, these came from that and that. And these came from over here. And remember, they could be placed anywhere. I could have placed the X on top here, or I could have placed a female on top here and place a male down here. It's just a matter of where I wanted to put them. And I think that is what makes it random fertilization. It just goes just about anywhere. All right, so I can just erase that and we'll just start the show. All right, so that's been erased. So it's going to be this and this. It's going to give you that. It's something like algebra, but it is not algebra. All right. So this is the first F1. And if this and this give you this, then over here it will be this and this. What will it give you? Type it in the chat there for me. Type it in the chat there for me. And we're doing sex determination now. So you probably need to write that in your book. Sex determination. Or some person might say inheritance of sex. So what are we going to write here? You want to type it in the chat? Good. So somebody is saying X, Y. Very good. All right. Good. So here now, X, X. What do we have here? What should we write here? All right, Cindy. What should we have here? X, X. What should be here? Type for me. I'm waiting. Not stealing your show. I'm working with you. I'm working with you. What happened to the others? Try yes or no and let us have some explanation. So we're going to have X and we're going to have X here. All right. So here now we're going to have X and Y and we're going to come now and have the same X and Y. Now I want you to pay attention to this, everyone. Now this is the genotype for a male, a boy, whichever one you want to call it. And this is the genotype for a female. So if we were supposed to write this down, we would write for phenotype. For phenotype, this, it would have been male. And the genotype for male, the genotype for male is going to be XY. All right? So the phenotype, male. The genotype, XY. For female, the phenotype is going to be female. And the genotype, of course, is going to be XX. I hope we have that. Do we have that? Have we written it down? Don't worry yourself. By about January, thereabout, we should be able to share the screen to show you all that we are doing instead of you waiting on this thing and probably not being able to see it well. All right, so we're cool with that. Sex determination. So let us get to the other phase. Just let me know, yes or no. You can move on, sir. You can't move on. All right, but Otisha alone is answering. I don't want to leave anybody else behind. All right, Amai Lawrence is saying, yes, she's fine. All right, cool. All right, so let us just move on a little bit now, a little further. So I'm going to erase this because you would have had this in your book already, and you understand that you must write the parent phenotype first, then you write the parent genotype, and then you are going to write the gametes, and then you are going to have a random fertilization, and you can choose whether you are going to do the cross, or you're going to use the Punnett Square. That's fine. Now, the syllabus wants us to look at both genotypic ratio and phenotypic ratio. Remember that ratio is pretty much expressing numbers in its lowest term while we do some comparison. So here we have, if we were supposed to look at this, we would have had, let's look at the phenotype. If we were supposed to look at the phenotype of the F1 generation, if we were supposed to look at the phenotype of the F1 generation, we would have had 2 males, and of course, we would have had 2 females. And this is phenotype. But remember, we are supposed to express it in its lowest term. So 2 into itself is going to go 1 time, 2 into itself is going to go 1 time. So the phenotypic ratio here from male to female is always going to be, type it in the chat for me. The phenotypic ratio, when we do sex determination, what is going to be the phenotypic ratio of the F1 generation? Type it in the chat for me. In sex determination, what is going to be the phenotype of the F1 generation? 2-person typed. What about the others? The others are not asleep. Keep typing. Keep typing. Keep typing. I want to see where we have misconception, what I need to fix. Keep typing. That's only 3 persons. That's only 3 persons. Keep typing. All right. So while we say they're 1-to-1, now it is very important that we remember that we can't just say 1-to-1 when we are doing it for the exam. We must say, either we're going to say male 1 to male 1, or we're going to say 1 male to 1 female. But we have to say what the number represents. Rather than just saying 1-to-1, we want to say, what is the F1 generation? Oh, the F1 generation is what we refer to as the first filial generation. It's the first possible set of offspring. Remember that this is not saying that this is what is going to happen. This actually speaks of a possibility of this happening. So what we're saying, a lady, I think the record in the world is about 69 children. Now, with 69 children, it doesn't mean that if you had 60 boys and 1 girl, the next time you conceive, you're going to have a girl. That is not what it means. It means that the next time you conceive, if you are not using any medication, then you are likely to have boy or girl. It is just a 50% chance. So the F1 generation is what we call the first filial generation, and those are the offspring that we get when we make the first cross. All right? Those are the offspring that we get when we make the first cross. So your phenotypic ratio here is going to be 1 male to 1 female for your F1 generation. Now, while the phenotypic ratio is that, remember phenotype refers to that we can see in most cases. There is also the genotypic ratio, and remember the genotypic ratio is going to speak to the letters that we are using to do the cross. Whatever letters we are using, we call them allele and all of those stuff. Allele, genes, chromosome, all of those things we call them sometimes interchangeably, but it don't really work. So these are chromosomes. All right. So these are what we'll look at for the genotypic ratio. Here, the genotypic ratio is going to be the same. It's going to be 1-to-1. So it's going to be XX1 to XY1. So the genotypic ratio for sex determination is always 1-to-1 for ratio. If we were looking at percentage, it's going to be 50-50. All right, so 50% of the X are 50% male. There's a chance you have a 50% male, or 50% of the offspring will be female. Or you could also have half and half. Now, it's very important that you understand these ratios, because when you get to the pedigree chart, sometime you need to rely on your knowledge of the ratio in order to solve the problem. All right? So remember, with sex determination, it is always 1-to-1, whether we're looking at the phenotype or we're looking at the genotype. Are you with me? Say yes if you're with me. That's how I know. Remember, I can't hear you. Everybody's fine? Oh, it seems as if you are asleep. All right. So just one other thing. So the syllabus wants us to look at both Punnett Square and the other genetic diagram where we do the fancy crosses. Now, I want you to be able to do both. While I might prefer doing the pedigree chart, doing the Punnett Square, sorry. While I might prefer doing the Punnett Square, the syllabus wants us to do both. So I'm not going to take any shortcut here. I'm going to do the same thing. So we have male as a phenotype, and we have female as a phenotype for the parent. Then the genotype for the parent is going to be XY, being that it's a male, and it's a female over here, it's going to be XX. All right, so this is phenotype, and this is going to be genotype. Those persons who are just joining, if you are not following, just let us know. And then down here, we are going to have the gametes. And the gametes, all that we do is a breakaway here. So simply put, we would go like something like that. I would have like X, I would have the Y there. And over here, we would do the same thing, X, and then we would have another X. And then this is gamete. This is pretty much a gamete here. This is the gamete. So now we are going to have a random fertilization. That is where we have the crossing of the lines, or where we would have had the Punnett Square. So what we do here, I like to tell students just to pull a line down. Because when you start to do, we're doing monohybrid inheritance, once we start crossing these lines, we become a little confused. And go one at a time. Once you pull a line down, write the allele that is associated with it. So you go X there, you go Y there. Now we know that we are supposed to have two lines here, that type of thing. But we are going to be crossing this side with this side. So we could start here, and we could probably go that. So we'd end up with, in this convention, we always write the X in front of the Y. So we're going to end up with XY. Right? And then we need to do another cross. All right? So we're going to be crossing this here with this over here. So here we go. And I'm doing that because I'm trying to just move away from crossing of too many lines, and then you become confused. So the first cross, we're getting two X's. There we go. So we have X, 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 Y. Now we need to go over here. We have two lines here. So this is finished. Two lines here. This is finished. But we have one up here, one up here, one up here, one up here. So those are not finished. So I need to pull a line down here. And remember, as you pull the line down, you write the associate letters as you would have it. Write whatever is there at the end of the line. Now that we have crossed this line to this, we don't want to pull back to this. We have to pull it to this one now. So we just go over like that. And remember, the X is always in front. So now we're going to write the Y. Right? So this is finished because there's two lines. 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 But this is still incomplete because it has one line. So now we have to solve that. So we pull another one down here. And we're going to have X there. And then we're going to be pulling this over to ensure we have this completed. And we draw that line over there. And we end up with another X. So you find now that this here is random fertilization. That's random fertilization. Here is your F1 generation. F1, they call it offspring. But you can have more than one offspring. You can have F1, F2, F3, that type of thing. So this is the first filial generation, the first set of offspring. Now, this is very important that you understand what the phenotypes are. Because when you get to sex determination, it makes a difference, or what we call X-linked traits. It makes a difference because boys will be more, should I say, not more exposed. They tend to be more affected by sex-linked disease than girls are, and we're going to be explaining that again. So here, remember, we have two boys, and again we have two girls. You don't have to do like I am doing now. I am just doing this for ease. So here we would have our female, and here we have our male. All right, and remember we said it was a 1-to-1 ratio. I hope that you do remember all these crosses and you are ready for some more work. Let me see what you're saying. Sir, I understand this one good. All right, this one is the easy one. That's why we start with the easy one. I am happy you understand the easy one. All right, I am not even going to go into sex link now, right? I am going to take you through another cross, just inheritance of dominance, because I want you to have the law of inheritance lock. So I'm just going to be sitting down one little bit and just remind you of something. Most time, for most students, most persons, once you talk about dominance, they are thinking about the popular thing. But dominance doesn't necessarily speak to the popular thing. There's a rule that governs dominance. All right. If once it's a dominant trait, what it means that in the genotypic state, once the dominant allele is expressed, then the phenotype will also carry that allele. The phenotype will also carry that expression, right? So for example, I have a paper here. Can I write on this? Let me just make this very, very easy. And I'm really trying to simplify it a whole lot. So if we say that something is dominant, if we are using capital T as, I like to use T, if we are using capital T as that allele, right? And you know, capital T could be in the homozygous state, or it could be in the heterozygous, right? Both are genotypes, right? Both are genotype. Homozygous, heterozygous, homozygous dominant. Now, once the individual, once the individual has either of these and its inheritance of a dominant trait, the individual will show the phenotype for this trait. So if it was tall and a person had this as a genotype, they are going to be tall. If it was tall and a person has this as their genotype, you are going to be tall. And you need to understand that rule for us to get to the pedigree chart. That is where we are going. Now, what happens now in this case, for a person to be short, the person would have to have the trait in the homozygous recessive state. This is the recessive one, all right? Because common T, we're using a common letter for recessiveness. And we're going to find some cases that we're not using any common. But just get to the common and capital, and then as we make our move, you follow with the graduation. So what we have just done is actually sex determination, or some persons call it inheritance of sex. What I'm going to be doing now, I'm going to be looking at inheritance of dominance. There are some dominant traits. Now, one dominant trait you could think about freckle. You know, you have freckle face, that skin thing. That is dominant, right? And of course, the normal is the recessive. Now, we could think about our fingers. We looked at a number of them last week, and we were saying that most persons in the population, they would have 10 fingers, right? But that is the recessive allele, right? While, of course, the dominant allele would have been 12, 6 and 1 and 6 and 1, all right? So that was just to let you know that not because it is popular within the population, it does not mean that it is a dominant trait. That is not how dominance work. So don't trick yourself. So, oh, everybody have it, so it's dominant. No. All right? So we're good on that. So I'm going to be looking at inheritance of dominance. What we're practicing now, we are practicing to do the crosses. We are ensuring that we understand the laws, and we are trying to ensure that we can maneuver with the phenotypic and genotypic ratio. Now, the crosses we did a while ago, it was very important to understand male and female, to know them differently. In this case, you don't need to know male and female, because male and female have really no bearing on what we're going to be doing. Now, what I want you to do, I'm going to be giving you a series of crosses. And at the end of it all, you are supposed to know the ratio for each. All right. So, for example, if we were supposed to cross two dominants, what is going to be the ratio? If we are going to cross heterozygous and dominant, what is going to be the ratio? That's the ratio of the F1 generation. If we were supposed to cross two recessive, what is going to be the ratio? That type of thing. So we are going to go through now, and then you are going to be writing, doing this right down to the ratio. As usual, I am going to be doing the first one for you. As I write it on the board, please write it in your book, because you're going to be using that as your example to complete the other task that I'll be giving. All right, so here we go. I hope that you are ready and your Sunday is blessed. All right, so we're going to erase. And remember, you can choose to use a Punnett Square or this cross diagram here, whichever one you so desire. But ensure you fill out all the necessary parts: the parent phenotype, the parent genotype, the gamete, and then you are going to go down into the Punnett. If you are using the Punnett Square, you're using the cross. The Punnett Square represent the cross just the same, and that is pretty much random fertilization. You want to label it as such. And of course, when you get to the F1 generation, you want to label the phenotype and the genotype. You must be able to say, well, this is the phenotype, and as a result of the phenotype, we have the genotype there, and that's the genotype, that type of thing. So we're going to go back to this thing that we love to use about tall and whatever. I don't even think that it is, it's just making work easy for you. I don't think it really have much bearing on genetics as to tall and short, right? This is not something that we're asked to test and we're looking at anything. We're just really trying to just let you understand the concept. All right, so we're not saying that this is dominant or not dominant, but for this case, just for this case, we want you to understand it to mean that. All right, we don't want to hassle you with what is dominant and recessive as yet. We're not there as yet. So usually, once you're going to do a genetic cross, the first thing you need to do is to define your allele. What are you using the allele to represent? You can't just start writing, oh, are we going to know where you're going with this thing? So we want to say, let T, so you're seeing T, let T be the dominant allele. All right, so the first thing you want to define, what are you doing so we can understand where this thing is going. Is it inheritance of dominance? Is it recessive? We want to understand where you're going with it. Then we are also going to define the common T as being recessive. Being a recessive allele. All right, and for now, we're thinking about tall and short. Not the best thing to use, but let us go and work with it. We'll soon correct that thing about tall and short. But just let's work with this for now. All right, so now that we have these all defined, right? You are going to get your story to do your own stuff. We have these all defined. We are going to be crossing two individuals. So I'm going to be crossing a heterozygous tall person with a homozygous recessive individual. You have to know what these words mean. So if it's a heterozygous, so one of the individual is going to have a capital T because it's a hetero. Once it's heterosexual, we talk about that. One, they are not the same. All right, so then we say homo recessive, that's the same. So we are going to have two of that. All right, and we know that this is the parent. This is the parent genotype. And we could write the phenotype here to say this person is heterozygous tall and this person is short. All right, so that is going to be the phenotype, and this is going to be het tall. That's going to be the phenotype. I do hope that you're following. This is going to be the phenotype. Heterozygous tall, short. And then here now you're going to have the genotype. So this is going to be the genotype, right? Now, after we have the genotype, then we are going to go down to form the gamete, the position of the gamete. So there we have it. We just a breakaway like that. And then we do the same thing here. All right, so we have our gametes. Always remember you are supposed to do that. Now, it is from the gamete that we are going to be having random fertilization. So remember now, if you want to use your Punnett Square, for most persons, it's going to be easier. Over the years, I've found that to be. And we go like that. And then you go down. All right. And if you're working with male, female, you indicate that here. And of course, you're going to be placing, I like to place the first one at the top, that there. And then we place that there. And then these, we place them over here. And then we complete the cross. All right. So we're going to complete this. We usually write the dominant allele at the front. These are the same, so it doesn't really matter. Dominant allele at the front. These are the same, it doesn't matter. All right, so right away, we are now looking at what the ratio is going to be if we were supposed to cross a heterozygous individual with a homozygous recessive. And what we're going to find now, in some cases, the phenotypic ratio and the genotypic ratio is going to be different. Because here, just let me write it off on paper that I can come a little closer to show you. Here, we have one of the offspring. I'll write them down and show you on screen. All right, T dot. All right, so here, this is our F1 generation. This is what they look like. This is going to be the F1 generation. So what you're finding is that for the phenotype, for the F1 generation, what is going to be the phenotypic ratio? Type it in the chat there for me. Hi, Shakila, how you doing? Louis, hi, how you doing? We have, is it Jadia? All right, so tell me in the chat there, what is it? We're looking at inheritance of dominance. All right, and we're not looking at any particular thing as would have been researched. I'm just giving you something, just using some random stuff. I'm really teaching the law. Remember that we spoke about one-to-one? We can't just say, remember we spoke about one-to-one, we can't just say one-to-one. We can't just say one-to-one, we have to be a little more specific. All right, so this is saying that one of the individual is going to be heterozygous tall. When you talk about one-to-one, so one heterozygous tall to one homo. Remember that? Remember we talk about homozygous, heterozygous, homozygous dominant, homozygous recessive. So this is when you talk about the phenotype here, one is going to be heterozygous tall and the other is going to be short. No, there's no male or female to this. There's no male or female. We did not say that any of this individual is male or female. All that we say is heterozygous and homozygous. So what you have to say that one is going to be heterozygous. It's a one-to-one ratio. So one heterozygous tall, one short. All right, or you could say one tall, but I like to be a little more specific than just to say tall, because sometimes you're going back for that phenotype that you wrote and you start making mistake. All right, so here we would say that one is heterozygous tall and one is short. So that's a one-to-one ratio. That's what you'd get. But here we would have to look also at the genotypic ratio, and the genotypic ratio is going to be capital T small t1, 1 capital T small t, the ratio sign, and then of course your 2 common t's, 1 and 2 common t's. That would have been the phenotypic ratio and the genotypic ratio that we have looked at just now. Yes, Barnett, that is very good. One tall to one short. That is very, very good. All right, so that is one ratio. Now, what I want you to do for me now, I do hope that, and that is the phenotypic ratio. Barnett, just one thing we miss off there, and we have to keep learning. We keep putting on a little more, so you learn as you go along. So with that now, Barnett, I want you to write it over to say phenotypic ratio, and then you put what you have just written there, and you'd have gotten your full marks for that. And then having written that, I want you to also write the genotypic ratio. So I'm going to hold it here for a little while until everybody would have gotten it correct. All right, so you want to write the genotypic ratio and the phenotypic ratio for this F1 generation. So you could say F1 generation phenotypic ratio and F1 generation genotypic ratio, that type of thing. All right. Some persons are falling asleep. What does that mean? You're not typing. Come on, guys. All right. So I'm going to move it now. And then I'm going to give you your task of those that I'm expecting you to cross. And having completed the cross, you're going to give me the genotypic ratio and the phenotypic ratio of the offspring. Good evening, Julissa. How are you doing? All right, so we're working on that. I'm getting a little confused. That is very good. All right, tell me what are you confused about, Otisha? I can correct that. You should be confused because we're sort of moving from one thing. Forget about the male and female and inheritance of sex or sex determination. We stop with that now. That is one side now. You don't even need to think about that now. We are doing something different. Right? What we're doing is called inheritance of dominance. Right? I have just randomly given you something. But what we have to do, we have to follow the rules. What the rules, how to write it. Okay, how to write it. All right, let me tell you what to write and you write it. For the phenotypic ratio, you are going to write F1 generation phenotypic ratio. What was it? One tall, your ratio sign, one short. Write that and let me see it on screen so other persons can get it. So that's a phenotypic ratio we're looking at. Type it. We can't type for us. I think that other persons are confused, and I really think that other persons are confused because in most cases when I ask questions, you usually respond a little quicker. So if you are taking this time to respond, it suggests to me that there are other persons who are struggling. Don't allow yourself to struggle. Just ask the question. I'll answer them. If you don't get this, I can't teach pedigree chart because that is even going to put you in a deeper well. All right, so type for me what you have there. I want to see the answer for this one. I want the phenotypic ratio and genotypic ratio. This is the F1 generation. We did the cross just now, and this is what we got. And I'm asking you to write, okay, so Barnett, all right, so the genotypic ratio for the F1 generation equal 1T, no, it's a common T, it's not homozygous. Barnett, you know, so you go on good a while ago, but guess what? You make a little mistake up at the top part here. So one is capital T and one is common T. But oh, you think right, that's so it for right, it look good. But you have to correct the capital T where you have one should be common T. All right, let me see Alina Johnson, phenotypic ratio. Phenotypic ratio for the F1 generation is going to be one tall, very good, to one short. That is the phenotypic ratio. So now that you have written the phenotypic ratio and you have missed out the word for, now you are going to write the genotypic ratio. Remember that the genotype is the letters that you are looking at here. All right, so good, you have gotten it correct for the phenotypic ratio. Barnett, you just made one little thing where you have a homozygous dominant set there, and it should have been heterozygous instead of homozygous. So you correct that and you should be fine. Alina Johnson, that's fine. Now you need to write your genotype. So Barnett, just correct your stuff when you write your phenotype. All right, so Barnett, phenotypic ratio is going to F1 equal 1 heterozygous tall to 1 homozygous. Homozygous what? Right? If you say homozygous, homozygous could be homozygous tall and it could be homozygous short, right? But we could just write short. All right, cool. We could just write short or we could just write tall. All right, so that is very good, Barnett. I like the resilience. The other persons, what are we doing? We're not being apart. Be apart, you know. You can't lose. There's nothing to lose. All that I'll do is to correct you and we get stronger at what we're doing. All right, so those that I've gotten so far, I'm pretty impressed. It usually take everybody a little time before they can get it all right. So the genotypic ratio for F1 generation is going to be 1 to that to 1 to that. Beautiful Alina Johnson. Wonderful. Wonderful. And that is how we answer it on the exam paper. All right? That is how we answer it. Always remember you write the genotypic ratio for your F1. And I didn't tell you this. I see persons writing it. Probably you can't get it on your keyboard, but yet still you need to know. So just let me get rid of this paper now. And my pack of paper is almost finished. And let me show you the F1 generation is written with a capital F, and one is a subscript. So it's written like that here, F1 generation. I know that your keyboard won't be able to give you it, but if you have to write it like for the exam, you write it something like that, F1 generation. So it's F with a subscript 1. All right, so that is out of the park. So now what I'm going to be doing, being that you are senior students now, I am going to be giving the phenotype of the parents. You are going to write the genotype in the chat before you start doing it on paper, because I don't want you to do it on paper and get confused. So now I want you to cross and remember the ratio that you have there. You need to write it down and remember what is the ratio for dominance. When you cross the way you just cross. I want you now to cross a homozygous dominant tall individual to a homozygous recessive, that is a short individual. Cross those two and tell me what you get. I want you to do the cross. I want you to give me the genotype. I want you to give me the phenotypic ratio, that type of thing. But for now, the first thing you need to do is to interpret what I just asked. So you would have to write the genotype for the phenotype I gave now. I said one is homozygous tall and the other is short. Simply put, short. Write a genotype for that for me. Write it in the chat now. I want to see it now that I can correct you and move on. So we're crossing these now. Oh, that was for the first one, Barnett. All right. So now I want us to cross. Oh no. I want us to give me the genotype for the one I gave you just now. I said homozygous tall cross with a short person. What is the genotype going to be? The genotype for this individual, what is it going to be? Are these individual, what is it going to be? Just type the letters. The letters are asking you for, you know, the letters that will represent each person. Guys, I'm asking you for this. This is what I'm asking you for. I gave you the phenotypes. I'm asking you now for the genotype. This is the genotype. All right? This is the genotype. No. Homozygous, it's homo is always the same. Homo. So this is homozygous. No. Kevin, capital T, common T, that is heterozygous. But I asked for homo. Remember, homo is the same. So it should be right. No, Otisha. The short person is homozygous recessive for tall, you know, so it must be 2 common letters. And for tall, it must be 2 capital letters. Once we say homozygous, and this is inheritance of dominance, so the only way the person can assume the recessive trait is if they have 2 of the same allele in the recessive case. Here, 2 common stuff, 2 common letters. That's the only way the person can be short. If a person have 1 capital T, the person is going to be tall. All right. So for the person I gave, this is going to be their genotype. All right. So do the cross for me and tell me what the offspring is going to be. And then I'm going to give you something like this. Yes, I'm Barnett. That is what I was looking for. All right. So that is going to be the genotype of the parent. So you always write the parent genotype. So now you're going to be doing the cross. And you're going to tell me what the genotype is going to be, what the phenotype is going to be. And then you want to tell me about the genotypic and phenotypic ratio. All right, your syllabus wants you to look at that. I'm looking at all specifics this evening as it relates to the syllabus. So I'm going to go on over to the syllabus. As soon as you have this lock, I don't think you have it locked yet because you don't understand the recessive condition and you don't understand the dominant condition. So we're going to do some more work on that. You have to understand that. Offspring. Okay, offspring genotype, they are all heterozygous. I think that is probably so. Just let me draw. You see how quick I'm drawing it? I just draw my rectangle, you know. I don't have any time to draw all of those lines. It takes too much time and then I might make a mistake. So I just do like that. And I just do like that. Just draw that box there, brother. And I've been drawing that box. I just got you and bam, 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 and I am finished. See, I am finished. Everybody's finished. Alina Johnson is finished. Who else is finished? Anybody? All right. Done. Seems I am behind. I need to watch his previous videos. Good night. By the way, nothing is wrong if you are behind. I'm sure that if you are here and you stay with us, you are going to be catching on. So don't worry yourself too much. Don't worry yourself too much. Just stay around, stick around, and watch because I'm doing everything from basic now. All right. Probably you are late now done, so it seems as if it's giving you a fight, but that's fine. All right. So let me go again. I realize that it is killing us. So your offspring will look like this, and it is in the Punnett Square. All right. So you realize that all the offsprings are tall. Sir, the first filial generation should that the offspring should. All right, that over for me again, Kevin. So the first filial generation here, your F1 generation, let me write it. F1 generation will observe that all the offsprings are tall. All right, I hope you saw that when you did the cross. And at a glance, I'm going to be giving you something in the pedigree chart. It's something like this, where as you look at it, you can solve it because you know that if you cross a homozygous dominant person with a homozygous recessive individual, the outcome is going to be everybody will assume the dominant, and that is a given. You don't even need to do the cross. From your look, let me give you another paper. Let me give you another paper and let me show you where I want you to become. Where I want you to be. I want you to be here. Once you see something like this, anywhere at all, and they ask what the F1 generation is going to be, once you know what the dominant allele represent, that is what the phenotype of the F1 generation is going to be. So right away, at a glance, you can say all will be tall. That is what we talk about when we talk about knowing the ratio. Once you know, everything here is going to be tall. Now, at a glance, I can look at this and I know that everything here is going to be heterozygous. Everybody is going to end up being big T, little t. All the offspring, all 4 possible offspring is going to be big T, little t. And this is where you have to get to with the genetics. Not hard. Like I said, I'm going to get another paper. I'm going to show you with all the papers I have in the world, you know. I'm going to get another piece of blank paper because a lot of persons not getting it. You're afraid. I don't need to be afraid. Let me just use another piece of paper to show you. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm teaching it back way now. First thing I'm going to do my cross. I'm going to draw this box. Because them line they really beat my body. And then I'm going to be drawing 2 horizontal lines. And then I'm going to be drawing 2 vertical lines. And then I'm going to be drawing that cell because I know that cell won't be used. So this is what I'm going to use and solve it. Now, once I would have gotten up at the top, sir, please go over slow. Am I going too fast now? Am I going too fast? So tell me and let me just do it over if I'm going too fast. All right, so I'll just discard all of these. And I'm going to get some new paper. And I'm going to go over slow. I'm going to put away my lesson for the day for a little while. And I'm going to go over. And I'm going to be going really slow. I bought some marker the other day. I don't want to use a whiteboard marker to write on the paper. And I have limited whiteboard marker. So I'm going over now really slow. I'm going to be putting everything in front of you as I go over. So the first thing I said is that I had a homozygous dominant tall individual. So it's a homozygous dominant tall individual. So I know that if a person is homozygous tall, oh my, don't do that to me now. So we know that if a person is homozygous tall, and tall is the dominant trait, then it is going to look like that because we have already defined that T, capital T, is the dominant allele. So this is going to be one person. Then we said that the other person is homozygous short. We could say homozygous recessive tall. But then we said the person is short. And it's like given that if the person is short, because it's inheritance of dominance, and once the dominant allele is expressing the genotype, the phenotype dictate that the individual is going to be tall. Once you say the person short, the person can't have no capital letter, it must be common letter. So we know based on that fact that the other individual is going to be like this. So we are crossing these two persons, right? Now, having written this, right, I am going to take shortcut. Here we are going to write that this person is tall, that person is short. We could just do that. And that is going to be the phenotype. So this person is tall and this person is short. Right? So what we'd write out here is that the parent phenotype and the parent genotype. Then we have to come down now to where we break out to the gamete. And what we do, we just separate the letters because we went through that there. I went through that in the last class. All right. And we'll break out, we get to this step. So these here represent the gamete now. And then I like to use my Punnett Square because it's much easier to me. So I just draw my box like that. I don't have to even worry about if I'm going to make a mistake with crossing the line. Draw the box like that. And then I draw two horizontal lines like that. And then I draw two vertical lines like that. And then Peter Gay Harrison. I'm sorry, I really don't know what those signs mean. Otisha, tell me what those symbols on the screen mean. And then I'm going to cross the top cell here so as not to make mistake as to what should be in it, right? And then what I do, I usually use the information here to go at the top of my Punnett Square. This information here, I put it at the top most times. So I'm going to be doing that now. So I put it at the top there, and that is what I have. And then the other bit, I'm going to put it to the side. See, I put it to the side. Now, all I need to do is to look what intercept here. So this intercept this right here. And we usually write the capital letter first. Capital letter, which is the dominant trait. And then we write the common. That is the common. And then we go on over and we do the same thing. Remember, the capital letter is written first and the common. So you realize that this and this intercepts here. This and this intercepts here, right? Realize that, and that's what we wrote there. Now we are going to do the same thing. This and this, they intercept here. So it's going to be big T, little t. All right, so we get that big T, little t. And then we go on over to the other cell and we're going to do the same thing. Now, when we look at our F1 generation, all that is in the box there is the F1 generation. So we could say the F1 generation, first filial generation, F1, that is what stands for first filial generation. We could look at the genotype or the genotypic ratio. And the genotypic ratio here is going to be pretty much one the same. I don't think they'll ever ask you that. And the phenotype or the phenotypic ratio is that all is going to be tall. Phenotypic, all is going to be tall. All tall. Or if you're going to talk about the genotype, all is heterozygous TT. T, capital T, common T. So that is all that I was asking you to do just now. I know it's a little ticklish for some persons if you were not practicing. If you were not practicing, you're going to be in the deep. So just try and do this to see if you can get there. All right. So if you didn't get this one, I don't know if you can screenshot this. I don't know the thing. Or you can press something and just screenshot it and have it very quickly so you can look at. All right, cool. Good. So, sir, can you repeat the genotypic ratio? The genotypic ratio. As it were here, it is just one. There's no real thing to compare anything because yeah, everything is going to be tall and it's just going to be capital T, common T. So everything is just one thing. Just if they ask about genotypic ratio, it's just one T, capital T, common T, and I don't know that they'll ask you because there's nothing there to really compare. They'll ask you to name the genotype or state the genotype, and you just state it. I don't know that they'll ask you for a ratio here. And as it were for the phenotype, everything is going to be tall because in all cases, you'd have seen the dominant allele expressed. The capital T is expressed in all the cases. So the offspring, of course, is going to be tall. Now I'm going to give you another one. I want you to cross, what's wrong with him? I want you to cross a 2 recessive individual. 2 recessive individual and tell me what you get. What will be the offspring like? Do the cross for me. I wish I could see you so I could just look over your book and see where you're going wrong. But we're not there yet with the technology. We'll be there soon. All right. So Harrison, I think I need a new glasses. Is that Otisha, is she clapping her on YouTube? She's clapping her on. Is that what she's doing? Our Walker, Otisha, our Walker. You guys are the guys who keep me young. All right, so we're doing that. We're crossing 2 persons who are homozygous recessive for the tall. For tall. What is that going to be? Homozygous recessive. What is that going to be? Nobody not pick it up yet? Sure. All the offspring is going to be short. Come on. Any of them come with any, sir, the F1 generation, all the offspring is going to be, yeah. And if any of them come tall, that one must be in Jamaica, we call it, you follow me? Because both parents are homozygous tall, homozygous recessive tall, which means that they are short. So there's no way they could have a tall offspring. No. Everybody is going to be short. All right, so you saw that one. All right, so let me just go with another one very quickly. So remember, there can only be 3 possible crosses, you know. Yeah, 3 possible crosses. Yeah. So it's always going to be, no, let me try this one. No, you can't get more than 3. You're going to have T, heterozygous tall, and a heterozygous tall, two heterozygous individual. What is the offspring going to be? So we look at two homozygous already. We look at, yeah, both cases. So now we look at two heterozygous. Two heterozygous individual for tall. What is the offspring going to be? This is the interesting one. All right. So I want you to race me because you're very good at it now. And don't go to the exam and follow me in the multiple choice. And the multiple choice paper, you just draw a box like this and put them in here. Nobody write them long something because you're not getting any mark for that. On the multiple choice paper, you just draw one box like this very quickly and just put the line right. And then you just take the information from up here, so, and then you just go so, because it's a multiple choice paper, you know. So you put in the information there already, and then you start look for which part they intercept. And then you start go so big T, big T, big T, little t. Then you go so big T, little t. Then you go so little t, little t. That is how you're going to do it for the multiple choice paper. I'm teaching you two different ways. The first part is where you're doing it for paper 2. For the multiple choice paper, you're not getting any mark to show the workout. You're just getting the mark here, unless they want you to tell them about the workout. But most time the question is to get this information here. So if you were supposed to draw across two heterozygous individual, your offspring is going to be ratio. Tell me what your ratio is going to be. What's your ratio? All right, beautiful, Alina. All right, 1 short and 3 tall. Remember, you have to use the ratio sign here, Alina. Don't use the and. Try as much. Use the ratio. Being that it's a ratio, use the ratio. So that is going to be the phenotype. Remember, you have to also write the phenotype. All right. So no, oh, you get 2 to 1, Kevin. Kevin, oh, you get 2 to 1. If you get 2 to 1, that's a total of 3, you know, and the possible offspring is always going to be 4 for monohybrid inheritance. So you want to revisit that. Yes, it's going to be 3 to 1. Anybody else struggling? Some persons not talking any at all, you know. Guys, I'm here to help everyone. All right. So now that we have 3 crosses, I'm going to give you another one. I'm going to give you another one. All right. Yes, Otisha. Cool, guys. I'm going to give you another one. What I haven't given to you. So I'm going to be giving you a heterozygous. I'm starting all over. A heterozygous and a recessive, somebody that is recessive for the tall thing. So it means the person is short. And heterozygous, you know what that means. So these are the 4 possible things. So we had a ratio 3 to 1. We had all for this one. When we do that one, and we had all for this one, but these are heterozygous. All of these offspring are going to be heterozygous. So you can just write those in your book. Remember, if you are in for the, I am getting a grip at it. All right, good. So remember, if you are in for the shortcut, probably if you learn it by the shortcut, you know, you can start back from the top. So this is what I have, and with the shortcut, you're going to just go so boom, 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 boom. Box drawn. Boom. Take the one up at the top, put at the top. Take the one at the side, put at the side. Do that. See how quick it was finished? Ready to move on to the next question. Try that shortcut method, and then you can see if you can start going at that. All right. So you see the shortcut method, how I got this in very, very quickly. I remember that I'm going to put the first one at the top and this one at the side. It doesn't matter which one you put where, but that is just my way of doing it. All right. So that is with the dominant stuff. I'm going to try something new now. And when I say try something new, it means that you're not going to be using the dominant stuff that you just do a while ago. We are now going to be using the sexting that we did before. So I'm going to be telling you about the rules for the sexting. All right. and then I'm going to jump over. I will have to come back to this thing next week, or whichever other week I join you. I don't know you're going to get it all at once this week based on what I'm seeing happening. I like the shortcut. Everybody like the shortcut, but in Jamaica, this is shortcut draw blood. So be careful, you might not get all the marks for that. If you do that in the exam for paper 2, you're not going to get all the marks. But if you do it for the paper 1, that is just to answer the question, you will get your marks. All right. You don't want to leave out the gametes and the segregation coming down and the parent phenotype and the parent genotype. You're going to be missing a lot of marks if you leave those out. You don't want to do that. So you want to make sure you practice. All right. And once you can do the pedigree chart, once you can do the Punnett Square, it's just a matter of formality to write the other things coming down, because you would have known what the answer is going to be. The crossing is what gives most persons problem, and you don't need to do the cross. You can use the Punnett Square because you would have done everything coming down. The crosses show segregation, and the Punnett Square shows the same thing. So once you do everything come down to gamete, then you can draw the Punnett Square, then you write the F1 generation underneath it, and then you write the phenotype and the genotype, and that's it. That's cool. All right, so you don't have to worry yourself too much about that. So I like the shortcut. All right, so we are going to be doing now sex-linked inheritance again. Sex-linked inheritance. And sex-linked inheritance is what they refer to as X-linked inheritance. You also have Y-linked inheritance, but for CXC, we do X-link. If you go to my channel, you would have seen a Hemophilia video that I did there, and you can watch it however many times. It shows you all the crosses for that particular disease. I am going to be doing the crosses for these. Now, hemophilia is a bleeding condition. When you get this condition, you are not able to, you don't stop bleeding easily. You have to get medication. And under the same sex-link inheritance, we look at color blindness, where you are not able to see a couple of colors. Now, sir, you keep talking about a chart. A pedigree chart. Oh, I soon get to the pedigree chart. I soon get to it. I'm going to do it this evening. As soon as I am finished with this, I'm going to do it. I'm not even going to go into codominance this evening with you. I want to start introducing the pedigree chart. When I start introducing the pedigree chart, you'll have to take some notes. I'll have to give you some notes, and then I start the pedigree chart. But remember, I'm giving you the pedigree chart because you have just mastered the inheritance of dominance. Hey, you guys are pro. And now you are going to be mastering inheritance of sex-linked traits or X-linked traits. So I'm just going to be using these two to take you over the pedigree chart. And when I come back, and I definitely have to talk about albinism this evening, and I definitely have to talk about sickle cell this evening. I am not going to leave here without talking about those. They are on the syllabus. I'm going to ramp with the exam time. When I start to teach, I might use some little vague something, but before I end the lesson, I go tight up and ensure that I am spot on with the syllabus. That's how I do it. All right, I start with some little analogy and so on, and then I hit the nail on the head. All right, good. So with sex-linked inheritance, what happens is that the trait travels on the X chromosome, right? And the X chromosome, you'd remember when I showed you with the male and female a while ago, the female has 2, while the male has 1. Now, once the male has the recessive allele on his X chromosome, automatically him have the disease, or he's affected by the disease. Now, if the woman has 1, she's not affected by the disease. She's considered to be a carrier, but she could pass on this trait to her offspring. So women like to be rude when they are talking to men, more so when it has to do with colors. You know, they like to talk about some colors when I have the name, like turquoise and so. You know, some like of color when a blue and a primary color and secondary color. Because we never learn about them color when we go to school. Talk about primary color and secondary color, and them then come with some turquoise and some sort of color green. And I don't know what these are, but women tend to know these colors because they read them in novels and so on. So women tend to say, you wouldn't know the color because you're colorblind. Like only man affected by color blindness. No. Both male and female, is affected by this X-linked condition. Now, let me just explain again for those persons who have not gone to the channel to watch the video on X-linked. That's a Yengers. We always have a Yengers. Every class, we have a Yengers. Every class, we have a Yengers. Or teacher will tell you. The Y chromosome is shorter than the X chromosome. Shorter than the X chromosome. So when the X chromosome has a recessive allele on one, the recessive allele is on one of the X. The dominant on the other X mask the effect of the recessive condition. And that is why a woman can have one and she still walk around like she don't have hemophilia. She still walk around like she not colorblind because she's not affected by the condition. But if the man have one, he's affected because him not have no dominant over here, so for mass it because it not depend on the Y and the Y too short. Understand? Cool. You have to understand these for us to move on. So I am going to be giving you some crosses. I'm not going to the board. I just showed you some crosses a while ago, and I'm going to start to break it down a little simpler. And as you practice, you'll get it. That is what makes us perfect. Practice. Bible says, study to show thyself approved. So we're going to be crossing two persons. In this case, it is important to know the male different than the female. When you're doing sex-linked inheritance or X-linked inheritance, sex-linked inheritance or X-linked inheritance is the same thing. You must know the male from the female. You must know them different. If you don't know them different, if you can't identify the phenotype, you are going to get it wrong. You're going to get it wrong. So we want to ensure that we're able to identify that. Sir, what is the best biology textbook to use? I don't know that there is a best biology textbook. We have great writers in the Caribbean. We have great publishers. I recommend book based on where students are. So a student who is going to do the subject in 1 year, I wouldn't recommend a big book for them. I'd recommend a summary book for them, right? So it's not a matter of which book is the best book. You have a lot of great books. It depends on what you want. I personally like to recommend summary book for students. A lot of teachers don't like to do that. But because we're going to pass the exam and then we're going to learn biology afterwards, I try not to teach students all the biology at CXC. I know that there's room for more after you finish, right? So persons who are going to do the subject very quickly or in a short time span, get a summary book. Take it from me. Get a summary book, watch some video, go online, get the syllabus, and you're good. It worked. Every student I've told to do that, they have passed the exam. Everyone. I like to talk. Let me just put out my disclaimer. This show is not sponsored by any publishing house. It's not sponsored by anyone. I don't get paid to do what I do. It is not sponsored by the Ministry of Education. It is not sponsored by my workplace. I am affiliated with no one. However, I do get books from time to time from publishing house, not to review, well, probably to review. They call we at some workshop and give you these books, and it's pretty much to review, right? The book I like to use as a summary book that I have recommended for my kids at work is the Antindale summary book for both HSB and biology. Why I have recommended that book? It is somewhat spot on and it not really give you the fluff. Now, if you can't understand the spot on thing, you have to get a big book. But if you can just take the spot on thing and run with it, you're good. Like if you have ever done biology and feel biology and you want to read it, get the summary book because you have some amount of knowledge on that already. Not to say that the other publishing house, they are not good. Not to say that the other authors are good. I don't even know who is Antindale. I hope that she's watching this show and she could probably sponsor us. I don't know. I don't know who she is. I don't even know where she's from. All right. So Otisha started off wicked. Otisha starts, so well, X and Y, just X and Y we're going to deal with right now. Right? So XX is the female, XY is the male. The trait only travels on the X chromosome. So now we're looking at, I'm going to use hemophilia, and hemophilia is that bleeding condition. We're going to use a capital H to, let me make sure, I'm going with convention now. I don't want to come up with anything of my own. This is serious time now. So we're going with hemophilia, and with hemophilia, let me check my notes here. What's the allele we're using? I'm almost certain it's H. I am almost certain we're using H. So we're doing hemophilia, and we are going to be looking at H. Right, we're using H. So normal blood clotting is capital H. So let me just write something on the board. And this is the convention that we're using. You observe when me that talk about the tall thing, Mr. Boy, me just do a little thing for to understand talk. Me don't want to tie on in what it should be. No, I'm tying you into it. When you're doing the cross for hemophilia, X-linked inheritance, you are going to use capital H to represent the allele that your blood is clotting normal, like probably my blood. I think my blood is clotting all right. I think so. I don't have hemophilia. So we're going to look at some normal cases first. So we have this woman. Look at this. This woman, her blood is clotting normal. She's like Otisha for the time being. Normal blood clotting. If she get a cut, it deal with itself all right. She don't need no medication. And she has, this woman, she has a partner, a male. Now the male, because this is sex-linked, remember it is sex-link or X-link, sex-link or X-link, so nothing will be on the Y. So she is with this gentleman who was X and a common H. Now you tell me in the chat, is this male a hemophilic individual or is he normal? Is he hemophilic or normal? The male with the common H and the X, is he normal or hemophilic? Type in the chat now. So this woman is normal. She has 2 capital H. We want to know if this male is normal or if he has hemophilia. All right, no, persons are saying normal, persons are saying, all right, cool. Let us go over the rule. You see, if you don't understand, I don't know if you understand, you know. So when you start to understand, when you start to talk now, I can say, well, let me just stop and just recap this because I didn't get something. So let me just recap this. I'm going to put my little book away. And I'm going to give you some stuff. We did this already, you know, but I'm going to go over it again. First thing I'm going to go with is with the chromosome. So that's a female. XX, female. XY, male. XX, female. XY, male. Let us go down, draw a line. Now we are going to be looking at the condition hemophilia. All right, persons who are hemophilic. Now, if you have XX with a capital H, you are normal for blood clotting. And this is a normal female. This is a normal female for blood clotting. You observe I said normal and female. I didn't just leave it at female or just leave it at normal. I have to cover both. All right? So that is why you have to understand the sex. Once you're talking about sex link, you have to talk about the condition and the sex of the person because it makes a difference. So this is a normal female for blood clotting. If she gets a cut, she's going to be fine. Fine, she's not affected by the disease. Now, this female, let me deal with the affected. Let me deal with what you know first before I get into something new. This person is a hemophiliac. I have a new subscriber. Welcome to the program. This person is, oh my. All right. So this woman with 2 common H, she's a hemophilic individual. So what it means, once she has that 2 common H on her X chromosome, it means that she suffers from the condition hemophilia, which means that if she gets a cut, she will need medication to stop bleeding. So we looked at the normal female, and we looked at the person who is affected by the disease. I'm going to show you another female now. Now, this female, she has 1 capital H and she has 1 common H. This female has 1 capital H and 1 common H. She is called a carrier. This person is called a carrier. Now, the carrier will have the trait, but the carrier will not be affected by the disease in most cases. Will not be affected by the disease. However, the carrier can pass on the disease to the offspring. Understand? She can pass on the offspring she can pass on the disease to her offspring. So let us go again. We were looking at female and male first. So we start up here. We say that this is a female. Then we say that this is a male. Then we say that this is a normal female for blood clotting. If she gets a cut, no problem. She doesn't have the disease. Then we say the person with 2 common H, this person has the disease. Then we come down here and say 1 common H and 1 capital H, this person has the trait, and it's called a carrier. Not affected by the disease, but is able to pass on the disease to offspring. So that out of the way. Now we are going to be looking at the male. We're going to be looking at the male. So the male is so unfortunate. We are so unfortunate. There's only 2 cases for the male. So we use this to represent male. And the male can either have a capital H on the X. There's nothing on the Y. A capital H on the X. There's nothing on the Y. There's never anything on the Y when we look at X-link. Or the male might have a common H. The male might have a common H on the X. Now, the male at the top, the one that I'm going to circle, this male, the one at the top here, does not have the disease because he has the dominant allele. Does not have the disease. This male at the bottom, he has the disease. Look at where the difference lies. While the male only needs to have 1, the male only needs to have 1 recessive allele, just 1. The female needs to have 2. So if the female has 1, she only has the trait. If the man have 1, he has the disease. So now that all those have been said and you have written them down, we are going to be doing some crosses now. And when you tell me about your F1 generation, you should be telling me things like hemophilic female, hemophilic male, normal male, carrier. Once a carrier is a female, a male can't be a carrier. Only a female can be a carrier. Oh. Oh, my dogs. Who is CXC spy? Who is this person? Why I'm not too sure. Welcome to the room. Welcome to the room. We do hope that you are bringing something that will assist us all. We're very happy to have you here. All right, cool. Okay, all right, no problem. It seriously doesn't matter. Seriously doesn't matter. All right, so let us move on. What we're going to be doing now, we're going to be doing some cross. And the crosses that we're going to be doing now, we are going to be using that which we learned just now. We are going to be using that to see if we can determine what the offspring is going to be. So we are going to cross a normal female with an hemophilic male. Write in the chat what that is going to be. Show me the genotype in the chat. Write in the chat what that's going to be. Normal female. All right, so if you are not writing, I take it that you still don't understand. So the female, all right, tell me what's a chromosome for the female? What do we use to represent female? What do we use to represent female? Type it in the chat for me. All right, so, all right, good. Kevin is saying the normal female is X with superscript capital H, and the male is going to be perfect. All right, what Kevin has there, that is correct. All right, so let me just write it on my paper here. All right, and then over here, I'm going to be having the male being. So Kevin is saying that. All right, I do hope that everybody is here. All right, the first thing you need to do is to understand what we use to represent the male versus what we use to represent the female. All right, and I've been if you are able to do that, then the next thing you need to remember, we started out with some dominant stuff. You remember that the capital H means that the person is all right in this case, and the common H means that in this case the person has the condition, the undesirable condition. All right, so now that we have that, I could do the short way because I have taught you the other way already. So I am just going to be doing the short way to do the cross. So the short way, I'm going to be drawing a rectangle. We have mastered all of the other thing already. If you haven't mastered it, please feel free to tell me, but we have to use time wisely. All right, so what we're going to do here, I've drawn my box. In this case, I need to specify who is male, who is female. So at the top, for some reason, I always have my male at the top. So my male is at the top there. And then my female is going to be at the bottom. There we have it. So XY always represent male. So I'm going to be putting that at the top. So I have X with the superscript there, and I have Y. I never ever leave them. I walk with the two of them that I don't get confused. And then for the female, it's going to be X with the superscript there, and X with the superscript there. We ended up having that. Now we are going to look for where they intercept. We always write X before Y. So for the first, we are going to have X with a capital H, X with a common H, which means that this is a carrier female. All right? And then we are going to get to the other side where we have X with a capital H and a Y. All right? So these are the two first individuals that we have. I'm seeing a whole lot of new faces this evening. Good evening and welcome to the show. Please feel free to participate. All right? All right, it's a family show. It's a friend show. We're one big family here. We almost know everybody's name here. So once you come in, we know that you're new, but we're very happy to have you here. All right, so again, now we're going to look at where they intercept, and I'm going to give you the same one that I'm doing to do when I'm finished. So we have the capital H, common H, and again, I have a capital H and Y. So I'm going to be writing out my F1 generation. Everything I'm going to be writing out. So I have one female carrier here, one carrier there, and then I have another female carrier here, and that I soon show you on the screen. And then I have a normal male here, and of course, and you are going to understand that the naming conventions are somewhat similar to the ratios that you were working out earlier. All right, so these are all my offsprings. All right, so let me tell you how we are going to name them now. So for the first person here, this is a carrier. It is a female, so we don't need to say female carrier. This is a carrier. Second person, carrier. This person, normal male, normal male. Right? So I'm going to be giving you one to do now. If you want me to just, I don't know. This is what it looks like. I don't know if you wish you can screenshot it. I don't know. And we're going to go through another one. All right. So here we were looking, and this is a shortcut method. I didn't do the gamete stuff and all of that. Remember that you have to do it for exam. This is like the multiple choice way of doing it. Remember I taught you that. So now we start up using time wisely. So now we're going to be crossing a carrier female with a normal male. What's wrong with him? Carrier female with a normal male. All right, I will go as far as to help you to write that. A carrier female. So the carrier female, once it's a female, it's going to be XX. And because she's a carrier, she's going to be the heterozygous. So she's going to have one capital H and one common H. And what was the male again? Remind me what the male is. What the male should be? Barnett. Normal male. All right, good. So normal male is going to be X with a capital H, Y, nothing on it. Remember, you have to represent, this is female, XX, female, that never changes. All right, never change. And male, XY, never change. All right, you can't just represent it as XH. XH is nothing. It's probably, that is like probably the gamete you're breaking away there. All right, now that we have done that, I am going the shortcut method, and I am using my Punnett Square. For some reason, I don't think I'm feeling so well. I'm feeling some chest pain. I like to put the male on top, so I draw my little symbol that represents the male, draw the female, and then the male on top. All right, so there we have the male on top. Now we're going to be putting in the female, and the female is always XX, and we have to carry those alleles, and we end up having this. And now we're going to complete the random fertilization, and we're going to be having the first person. All right, tell me what you get. Remember, the shortcut method should not be used for your exam unless it's a multiple choice paper. All right, tell me what you have. Write all the offsprings for me. All the offsprings. I know that you can't use a superscript in with your phone or whatever you're doing. I'm not too sure what you're using, but write everybody for me. And I observe some persons not participating this evening. Alina Johnson, what's up? Where's Tanisha? Macmillan. Oh, Macmillan, I thought I saw you earlier today, subscriber or something. I thought I got something on the page from you earlier. All right, good. All right, what do we have here now? What is the ratio here? I don't even want to throw in the ratio as yet. Alina, what did you say? Oh, I am seeing what you have written, but for some reason YouTube think it should be black. It doesn't have to be black. It's fine. All right, so it's going to be XHH. That's for one. And then the other is going to be, other female is going to be that. Yes, that's correct. And then you're going to have wonderful. Wonderful. All right. That answer is good. Perfect answer. All right. So I didn't want to show it for Alina, and it is, but Alina, I told the system to show yours. It's not showing it. I don't know why. Show. Okay, good. There we go. All right. So, yes, that is good. That's the same thing you have, Kevon. Yes. All right. So know that where are the other persons? I don't know if you're understanding what's happening. Remember, XX is female, XY is male. And then we have a little allele on top that carries the trait, right? Be it recessive or dominant trait. In this case, we're looking at hemophilia. So here we can clearly state, before we get into, I don't understand, sir. All right, just keep following. A step at a time. We will go through it again. Shakila, do you understand how to write a male versus a female? Shakila, do you understand how to write the male versus the female? Just a normal male. It has nothing to do with hemophilia. Yes, sir. Did you see when I wrote the allele for the disease that we're looking at now? Were you here then? Were you here then? I don't know if you answer to that. I want to see where you got lost. Yeah, so if you have it, what is the challenge? If you have that, what is the challenge? I don't understand. All right, let me just put away piece. Let me just put this paper away. Yeah, just let me put these away a little bit. F1 generation is just the answer for what you do. The first set of answer, and if you were supposed to do it again, is the second set of answer. F1 generation, the first set of answers that you get from what, that is the simplest way I can put it. It means the first filial generation, and what Alina Johnson put up there, that is the first set of offspring. What Kevon put up there, that is the first set of offspring. That is all that F1 generation mean. What your answer is going to be the first time when you do it, that is F1. If you were supposed to cross again the same thing again, that is F2. And not even exactly so F2 go, but I just want to make it simple. Right? Yes, I want to make it simple. So we're going to try again. We're going to try again. And you must pay attention. So the first thing I'm going to write the female. This is the female. Somebody can remind me in the chat, the female, what's the status of the female? Carrier, normal, hemophilia. What's the status? The female that we're using for the one that Kevon did just now. What was the status? Somebody write it in the chat for me. She was a carrier. Now, if she's a carrier, Shakila Lewis, what is going to be the allele that we're going to use for her? Write it in the chat for me. If she's a carrier, what are we going to use? Which of the H we are going to use? Let me just break it down to that. Which of the H we are going to use? Are we going to use 2 capital H, 2 common H, 1 capital H, 1 common H? Write it in the chat. All right, good. So if you are there and you know that we are going to be using that as carrier, right? What is the status of the male? Can somebody tell me what is the status of the male? No, just allow her to answer. Being that she said that she's lost. Let me try and see if we can help her out. All right, so what is the status of a male, Shakila? The male that we're using. Is he normal, Is he carrier? He can't be a carrier. He must be normal or have the condition. What is the status of the male? Is he suffering from the disease? He's normal. So if he's normal, what his genotype is going to be? Write his genotype for me. You are saying that he's normal. What will the genotype be? Shakila, this suggests that you were not paying attention. Let me ask the room to see if the room was paying attention. Can the Y carry any of the allele in the X link? Yes or no, guys? Answer. Can the Y carry any of the allele? No, sir. Because I said it repeatedly that the Y started by saying that the Y was too short and it doesn't have anything to mask. So it suggests that you were not listening. No, this is a room that you have to listen in. Listen, please listen. Guys, if you don't listen, then you don't understand because you don't listen. I really don't appreciate that. If you are listening and you can tell me and you're still confused, then it is my responsibility to help you out. But if you're not listening and you're not jotting down and you're not saying, hold on, sir, let me write this down or thing like that, then you are saying that, no, I'm just going to waste some time. And I don't want to have that type of thing. I don't want to believe that persons are wasting time. All right, so X and Y. So let's pay attention. X, Y. And if you say that the person is normal, so it has a capital H. So what it means is that this male is not suffering from hemophilia. There's nothing on the Y. Guys, it is X-link or sex-link, whichever one you want to use. In most cases, your teachers are going to be using X-link because your syllabus said, when your teachers are going to be using sex-link because your syllabus says sex-link, but it is also called X-linked, and it is correct to say X-link. All right? So let us go again. So this male is normal, right?